Κυρίες και κύριοι, φίλες και φίλοι, βρίσκομαι στο Μέγαρο Μουσικής για μια συνέντευξη με τον κύριο Bill Gates, με έναν από τους σημαντικότερους ανθρώπους στον πλανήτη, όχι μόνο για όσα έχει προσφέρει μέσα από την επιχειρηματική του δράση, αλλά και για όσα προσφέρει τα τελευταία χρόνια μέσα από το φιλανθρωπικό του έργο. Έχουμε μάθει να προσεγγίζουμε τον κύριο Bill Gates ως τον πλουσιότερο άνθρωπο του κόσμου. Νομίζω πως έχει μεγάλο ενδιαφέρον να εξερευνήσουμε έναν άλλον πλούτο ψυχής, με αυτή τη σύντομη συνέντευξη. Κύριε Gates, καλησπέρα σας. Σας ευχαριστώ που είμαστε μαζί για αυτή τη συνέντευξη. Ο γιος μου δεν πίστευε ότι θα την πάρω. Όταν του είπα πριν από λίγες μέρες ότι θα συναντηθώ μαζί σας, μου είπε: με κοροϊδεύεις, αποκλείεται να συναντηθείς με τον Bill Gates. Αλλά εγώ έψαξα και βρήκα για την πρώτη μου ερώτηση ένα κοινό μας στοιχείο. Έχω ένα γιο 14 ετών. Διάβασα λοιπόν ότι στη 13χρονη κόρη σας δεν επιτρέπεται να περνά πάνω από 45 λεπτά μπροστά στην οθόνη του υπολογιστή καθημερινά και πάνω από 1 ώρα τα Σαββατοκύριακα. Θέλω λοιπόν με αυτή την αφορμή να σας ρωτήσω γιατί το κάνετε αυτό, τι φοβάστε και πώς νομίζετε ότι μπορεί να αντιμετωπίσουν οι γονείς αυτό το μεγάλο πρόβλημα, το πρόβλημα του εθισμού των παιδιών στο ίντερνετ και στον υπολογιστή.
Well, actually, what I do with my daughter, she uses a computer to do all her homework. And so she's studying. She has an actual tablet computer. And so instead of textbooks, she's doing it digitally. So none of that time that's about homework or learning things, there's actually no quote on that at all. It's when she's off, in her case, looking at shopping or a few of the games. We've set a limit on that. But in fact, she almost never runs up on it. She's very good at balancing her time. You know, parents always care about their kids getting outdoors some, doing homework some, spending time with the family some. And so you try to make sure everything is done in very good balance. And I do think the Internet's been fantastic because it's largely cut into just passively watching TV. And here on the Internet, because the world's knowledge is out there and people who have interest in the topics, it can be a lot more enlightening and involving than simply just sitting and watching. You know, all these tools have to be used in the right way. Parents should know what their kids are up to, but it's been a very positive force to keep kids curious, to let them connect to the latest knowledge.
Αναφερθήκατε στη τηλεόραση και διάβασα κάπου σε μια συνέντευξή σας να λέτε ότι η τηλεόραση τελικά θα καταπιεί με κάποιον τρόπο τον υπολογιστή. Ότι όλα κάποια στιγμή θα περνούν μέσα από τη τηλεόραση. Οι επικοινωνίες μας, το ίντερνετ, η οργάνωση της ζωής μας, και θέλω να μου μιλήσετε για αυτό το τεχνολογικό αύριο, για την επόμενη μέρα στις τεχνολογίες. Διάβασα ότι σε μια τελευταία ομιλία σας είπατε κάποια πολύ ενδιαφέροντα πράγματα για το μέλλον, όπως για παράδειγμα ότι δεν θα χρειάζομαι πια την οθόνη του υπολογιστή μου, θα μπορώ να βλέπω πάνω στο γραφείο μου την οθόνη.
Well, the Internet has really changed a lot of things. How we learn, how researchers work together, even in many areas, how we buy and sell products. And that revolution is continuing. Today, most TV is not delivered over the Internet, but it will be, because then we can have the show be personalized to your interests. We can have it be interactive, whether it's a game show or watching the Olympics and seeing the sports that you care about the most. So really, we're taking TV and digitizing it, putting it onto the Internet. Now, the question of what screen you use, big screen in the living room, a PC screen, this idea of the table being the screen or the entire wall with a cheap projector, we'll have more flexibility in screens. And you know, the phone is connecting to the Internet now, so you can browse information. The personal computer, we have both wireless and wired Internet. So it's really a convergence onto the Internet, which has this great flexibility to allow the magic of software. And the magic of software lets us watch when we want to. It lets us, if we want to be quizzed about something we've seen, lets us interact with that. So it's the magic of personal computing brought to any type of screen and the normal video, which used to be only broadcast and only a limited number of channels.
Τώρα θέλω να ρωτήσω πώς γίνεται μιλήσαμε πριν για τον εθισμό των παιδιών στον υπολογιστή και στο ίντερνετ. Τώρα θέλω να μιλήσουμε για έναν δικό σας εθισμό. Φαντάζομαι ότι μετά από τόσα χρόνια δουλειάς είστε εθισμένος στη δουλειά, στην παραγωγή νέων ιδεών, στον ανταγωνισμό. Διαβάζω και ακούω ότι έχετε βάλει στον εαυτό σας ένα πρόγραμμα απεξάρτησης, να το πω έτσι. Ένα πρόγραμμα που μέσα στα επόμενα 2 χρόνια σιγά σιγά θα σας απομακρύνει από την εταιρική διακυβέρνηση, από τη θέση του Προέδρου της Microsoft. Και θέλω να ρωτήσω πόσο εύκολο είναι ένας άνθρωπος σαν τον Bill Gates που έβαλε τη σφραγίδα του στις εξελίξεις της τεχνολογίας τα τελευταία χρόνια να αποσυρθεί έστω και σταδιακά. Και τι ήταν αυτό που σας οδήγησε σε αυτή την απόφαση?
Well, the work I've had a chance to do on software over the last more than 30 years has been incredibly rewarding, and I love that work. And when I see students using personal computers, when I see blind people who with the special software work we can done, anything can be read to them from any website, and I think, wow, this is what I dreamed of. And by putting together smart people, by being optimistic, taking a long-term view, funding lots of research, we've been able to achieve a lot. In fact, in the next 10 years, as we teach computers we can talk to them, we can touch the screen and change things, we'll make the computer way better than it is today. And so, in fact, my decision to switch to be full-time for my foundation and part-time Microsoft, which is the opposite of what I do today, is not because of any lack of enthusiasm about these software frontiers. I'll still do some of the projects, but I also love the work of the foundation. It's very similar. It's a belief that if we bring smart people together, give them the right resources, take a long-term view, that even the tough problems of the poorest people, the poorest 2 billion, who still have malaria and AIDS and don't have the things we take for granted, I want to take the resources of the foundation, the advances in science, the generosity of other philanthropists and rich world governments, and see how we can bring that together to take this gap and close it for fundamental things that everybody should have. So I'll be working as hard as ever. I'll be loving software as much as ever. I'm a very lucky person to have 2 things where I enjoy the work so much, and I feel there can be a real impact similar to the great impact that Windows has had in personal computing.
Θα επιστρέψω στην συζήτηση για το ίδρυμα που έχετε κάνει μαζί με τη γυναίκα σας και για τη φιλανθρωπική δραστηριότητα. Πριν θέλω να κάνω μια παρένθεση. Ορισμένοι πολιτικοί στις Ηνωμένες Πολιτείες διαβάζω ότι ανησυχούν τον τελευταίο καιρό μήπως αποκτώντας περισσότερο χρόνο, δουλεύοντας part-time όπως είπατε στην Microsoft, ασχοληθείτε κάποια στιγμή με την πολιτική. Ακούω να γράφουν και να συζητούν ότι ο Bill Gates, μιλώντας για δημιουργικό καπιταλισμό και αναπτύσσοντας θεωρίες για το ανθρώπινο πρόσωπο του καπιταλισμού, μπορεί ίσως να φλερτάρει με την ιδέα να γίνει κάποτε πρόεδρος των Ηνωμένων Πολιτειών. Και θέλω μία ευθεία απάντηση σε αυτό. Αν η πολιτική είναι μέσα στα επόμενα σχέδιά σας.
No, I don't see myself being a politician, but I do think working with politicians, so these issues of how aid money can be used effectively, increasing the generosity of the United States and other countries, really getting the story out about how that aid is making a difference, saving lives and improving things. There's a lot that can be done there, but that's really through the time I'll spend at the foundation. I myself am not a politician and wouldn't be good at it. Creative capitalism fits in because that's where I say that it's not just governments and philanthropists, but also the best businesses can have a big impact. And in fact, if we look at the leading companies today, what Microsoft does in technology and getting it into Africa and into schools and into libraries, if we look at what the leading drug company, GlaxoSmithKline, does on a lot of these breakthrough medicines, we look at what food companies like Nestle do in terms of helping take their expertise and build cheap micronutrients. All we have to do is get the other companies performing at the level of the leaders, and we can take innovation and make a big difference for the poor. So creative capitalism is to say, because employees of these companies have values, they want to work for a company that's doing things well. The reputation of the company can be enhanced if it does things that have a big impact, and if we really verify, how that it's changing lives. I see an opportunity to tap into that innovation and activity and the value base that those companies represent without taking away from the great work they already do.
Τώρα, θέλω λίγο να σας συμβουλευτούμε εδώ στην Ελλάδα, αν μπορώ να βάλω τη λέξη αυτή σε εισαγωγικά, για το πώς μπορεί μια μικρή χώρα, μια μικρή ευρωπαϊκή χώρα, σε μια εποχή έντονου ανταγωνισμού, με θηρία στην παγκόσμια οικονομία απέναντί της, όπως για παράδειγμα αναπτυσσόμενες χώρες, η Κίνα, η Ινδία, να σταθεί όρθια. Τι έχετε να προτείνετε σε μια χώρα σαν την Ελλάδα για να κάνει την παρουσία της στη διεθνή οικονομία αισθητή και κυρίως για να παραμείνει όρθια και δυνατή?
Well, the growth of the world economy creates huge opportunities for companies everywhere. And so the fact that consumers in China are richer and are buying more products, that's a great thing for Greek companies, United States companies. And so it means that we're all going to be helping each other. If you're a shipping company, if you're an agricultural company, if you're a tourism company, the fact that there's more wealth in the world, there's more innovation in the world, Greece will get its share of that as the companies here go and find their specialized activity. That's the marketplace at work. We can make sure more of that happens if we get the kids exposed to technology at a young age. We help work with the universities, because software skills affect even how you think of organizing shipping or tourism or agriculture or lotteries, whatever it is. The software piece is important. The universities here are really quite excellent. We've seen in our software competitions, they're coming in the top, even with all that competition you mentioned. So making sure that gets into the companies here or new companies here, that's the kind of thing Microsoft wants to help them. In fact, our innovation center that we opened is exactly about bringing those different elements together. So I'd say what's good as the global economy grows, that net is a better situation. In fact, if the global economy shrank, that's what would be a bad thing.
Κύριε Γκέιτς, τι ρόλο πρέπει να παίζει το κράτος σε ένα δημιουργικό καπιταλιστικό σύστημα? Και σας ρωτώ γιατί εδώ στην Ελλάδα το μεγαλύτερο πρόβλημα για έναν νέο επιχειρηματία, για έναν άνθρωπο που μπαίνει με όνειρα στον επιχειρηματικό στίβο, είναι η γραφειοκρατία. Είναι ο τρόπος με τον οποίο το κράτος δυσκολεύει σε κάθε βήμα την προσπάθειά του για καινοτομία, την προσπάθειά του για επιχειρηματική επιτυχία. Και θέλω να σας ρωτήσω, ποιος είναι κατά τη γνώμη σας ο ρόλος που πρέπει να παίζει το κράτος σε έναν δημιουργικό καπιταλισμό σε σχέση με τις επιχειρήσεις?
Well, I don't think there's any short answer to exactly how governments strike the balance between making sure that the basic infrastructure of education and roads and justice, all those things are super well done, and yet letting the innovation of the private sector come in and do its part. We can learn from what's going on in governments all over the world. There's sectors that are very complicated, like the post office or the school system or the healthcare system. But, if you try and tap into both of those goals, the equity for everyone and the basic infrastructure, and yet unleashing the young entrepreneur or the company who's doing something well, we want to have both of those. And every country will learn from each other. There have been a lot of lessons over the last few decades where some of the purely communistic systems did not do this well, but it doesn't mean we have the final answer. I'm not really an expert on Greece, but I understand the interest in striking the balance of encouraging innovation while continuing a strong government role. I think there's a move in that direction, and I think there's some good ideas that should be pursued.
Ένας άνθρωπος που ήδη είναι, αν όχι ο πλουσιότερος στον κόσμο, σίγουρα ένας από τους πλουσιότερους στον κόσμο. Ένας άνθρωπος που έχει κάνει τέτοια επαγγελματική επιτυχία, όπως εσείς, πάβει να ονειρεύεται. Δηλαδή, ποιο είναι το κίνητρό σας πλέον? Ο κόσμος, παρατηρώντας την πορεία σας, παρατηρώντας τη διαδρομή, θεωρεί ότι έχετε πετύχει τα πάντα. Ποια είναι τα κίνητρα, τι είναι αυτό που σας κινεί από εδώ και πέρα, τι είναι αυτό που σας συναρπάζει, τι είναι αυτό που σας κινητοποιεί?
Well, the thing that I dreamed about when I was young was the magic of software and making this personal computer that would empower me and everyone else to reach out and learn and create. And in fact, we've made a lot of progress on that, but we're not yet to the ultimate. It's not powerful enough and easy enough, cheap enough. And the Microsoft research people are driving that forward. So that's a dream that I could spend the rest of my life on, and in a part-time way I will. I also have a dream about these diseases, like malaria and AIDS and so many things that hold back the countries, particularly in Africa, and put them in a trap where they just can't provide the basic needs. And I think with more generosity from philanthropists and creative capitalism and governments, bringing technology, but appropriate technology, to bear on these problems, we can make huge progress. The world has a report card called the Millennium Development Goals, which by 2015 we'll see how far we've come on these things, and then dedicate ourselves to the ones that have worked well, go more, the ones that haven't, change the strategy there. I think it's so important that those goals are on everybody's mind and looking at them and thinking about them, trying to figure out how they can contribute to those things. Of course, I have dreams for my children in terms of having a great life. So there's plenty that keeps me busy. In fact, I find my schedule very full, but I love all of it.
Πάμε και λίγο στην κριτική, γιατί μέχρι τώρα οι ερωτήσεις μου ήταν μάλλον βολικές. Μία κριτική που γίνεται σε εσάς είναι ότι η φιλανθρωπική δραστηριότητα, όλη αυτή η δραστηριότητα του τελευταίου διαστήματος, δεν πρέπει να επιβραβεύεται, έτσι λένε ορισμένοι κακοί, διότι αποτελεί μια μικρή επιστροφή ενός τμήματος του πλούτου που η κοινωνία σας έδωσε. Ότι επιστρέφεται ένα τμήμα από τα υπερκέρδη δηλαδή που δημιουργήσατε. Λένε μάλιστα ότι ο Bill Gates φέρνει σε αμηχανία τους αριστερούς ανά τον κόσμο, διότι είναι ένας καπιταλιστής που κατάλαβε ότι πρέπει να βελτιωθεί το πρόσωπο του καπιταλισμού, να γίνει πιο ανθρώπινο, και γι' αυτό μιλά για δημιουργικό καπιταλισμό. Τι απαντάτε σε αυτές τις κριτικές, σε αυτές τις θεωρίες?
Well, the goal is not to have a discussion about systems. The goal is to have children stop dying of malaria. The goal is to have literacy for people very, very broadly. So, I've made a free decision to take my money and give it away. I didn't need to do that. I'm not a salesman for capitalism. I'm somebody who, when I go to Africa, see what's going on there, and I think, how can I change it? My wife's there now. I've been talking to her every day, thinking about these farmers and how, because of climate change, their crops are wiped out and they're dying, and we need to bring the system to work for those people. And so, my achievements aren't measured by how much I gave away. It's rather, take the diseases we're going after, take the projects we're going after. Whoever wants to talk about it, please go to Africa, look at our projects, look at the malaria vaccine, meet the children whose lives have been saved. If you don't like that, then fine. Then you have a different system. Maybe, you don't think medicine should be used to save lives. It's easy to, think that it's all about philosophy.
Γυρίζοντας προς τα πίσω και κοιτάζοντας την διαδρομή των τελευταίων δεκαετιών που κάνατε, ποιες είναι οι καλύτερες και ποιες οι χειρότερες στιγμές σε αυτή τη διαδρομή? Για παράδειγμα, φαντάζομαι πως μια δύσκολη στιγμή πρέπει να ήταν όταν η Microsoft κατηγορήθηκε ότι είναι ένα είδος μονοπωλίου, ότι δεν αφήνει δεν αφήνει χώρο στον ανταγωνισμό?
Well, Microsoft, we were two people starting out competing with IBM, who was, a million times bigger than us. And because we believed in low-cost computing, because we believed in broad computing, we drove down the cost of hardware and software. And everybody should wish that the other sectors of the economy would improve their products at the rate that software and hardware did. So, it's clear that the competition, whether it's the early work that we did or today with Apple and Google, there's so many competitors, and it's great. That makes us do better. Microsoft, because of our huge investment in R&D, we push the limit, gets them to do better. And so this is really something that's working well. Yes, if you're big and successful like we are, you're always going to have things where you're working with governments, making sure they're happy with what you're doing. We're very committed to that. We have great relationships with all the governments in Europe. I'm seeing, many government leaders. In fact, our software is helping them. So we're dedicated to working through any issues. We believe in great partnerships, and I appreciate the confidence that's being shown in Microsoft.
Ήθελα να σας ρωτήσω για το περιεχόμενο της συνεργασίας σας με την ελληνική κυβέρνηση. Τι ακριβώς πρόκειται να γίνει εδώ στην Ελλάδα σε συνεργασία κυβέρνησης και Microsoft, και τι μπορούμε να περιμένουμε εμείς οι Έλληνες, τι μπορούν να περιμένουν οι ελληνικές επιχειρήσεις από αυτή την καινούργια συνεργασία?
Well, of course, in terms of businesses, we've been in this market for quite some time. We're here to help those businesses use software to be more effective. I'm not sure anything with the government, changes any of that. This Innovation Center is an opportunity for Greek business, Greek universities, Microsoft to come together and say, how can software help with the problems that matter here? Some things are unique. There's industries that are here, or things that need to be done, and that Innovation Center is an investment by us that there's very smart people. If we give them the latest tools, some good things will come out of it. We've also got donation of what we call the digital curriculum that's being translated into Greek and can be used by the schools. Certainly no requirement they do that, but we've had great results with that in other countries. So a lot of it's us stepping up as somebody who believes the economy is going to do well over time, and that there's a lot of creativity here. It's a milestone. I'm sure we'll come up with other ways that the government wants us to contribute along with other people in the technology sector. But it was a wonderful thing to be here the day that the Innovation Center got kicked off.
Τελευταία ερώτηση. Κλείνω. Διάβασα ένα αναλυτικό βιογραφικό σας για το πώς ξεκινήσατε από τα χρόνια του γυμνασίου, στη συνέχεια στο Χάρβαρντ, στο Πανεπιστήμιο, τις πρώτες κινήσεις σας. Θέλω να σας ρωτήσω, γυρίζοντας προς τα πίσω, μπορούσατε τότε ποτέ να φανταστείτε όλο αυτό που συνέβη? Και τι συμβουλή, τι οδηγία θα δίνατε σε έναν νέο άνθρωπο που ξεκινά με όνειρα την επαγγελματική του πορεία και διαδρομή? Υπάρχει μυστικό στην επιτυχία, υπάρχουν συνταγές στην επιτυχία, ή τα περί συνταγών είναι τελικά ανοησία των δημοσιογράφων που τους αρέσει να γράφουν ωραία παραμύθια?
Well, I certainly didn't imagine that I'd ever have a company with the huge impact and the ability to hire so many people and do advanced work. What drove me was seeing that software was a kind of magic, and if we combined that with these chips that were getting so much more powerful, that we could do something new and different. And I got to hire my friends. Every day we did it, we knew there was something important we were doing, but in fact it was what was the most fun thing to do that day, to work on the software. And we didn't think we'd have some big fortune or anything. We just thought, boy, do people like this software? And if they told us it was good, we did that more. If they didn't like it, we changed it. We reached out and created a software industry, drew other companies in, and by far it's those partners' success that we're really most proud of. So it's kind of a dream come true. It was not expected. My advice to people would be that The satisfaction is mostly what you do every day. Do you get to work with smart people on hard problems? Do you feel like you're learning something new, challenging yourself? You know, is there some things that go poorly, so you adjust to that? Some things go well, so you reinforce that. And, you know, I've been ultra lucky that Microsoft got very good people, got a lot of exciting things going on, had many challenges that our users put to us, and I've loved every day of the work. And I also, rarely, but sometimes I do step back and say, wow, it really is the dream that we had. Not fully completed, because it's only 1 billion people using Windows personal computers, and there are 6 billion people who we want to have this empowerment, and it's not fully done. So I'd encourage people to take what they love doing and pursue that, you know, whether or not there's some remote chance of huge amounts of money coming out of that, because it really is, it's a daily thing that determines are you developing your potential.
Η ικανοποίηση είναι στο ταξίδι, λοιπόν.
Yeah, and that's been said eloquently by many people, and I certainly agree with that.
Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ, κύριε Gates. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.